Hi, Mark.
Hi. Hello, everybody.
Listen to parents whining. Hey, Mark.
Hey, what's going on? How's everybody doing?
Great.
Yeah. Happy Sunday. Hi. Hey, guys.
Lynn has a sound on her
Are
video.
we,
Yes, ma'am.
well, for me, the Philadelphia Eagles played yesterday, so it wasn't a problem for me, but I hope that you guys got the game out of your system, or maybe you have it on right now. Who knows? We can discuss whether Sundays will continue to work for everybody, because I know we have some sports fans in the group, and myself included. So if these Sundays are not going to work because of the football season, we can definitely change them to another day. But yeah, glad to see you. We have 11 people in the group today, so we're growing, I guess. Because we're starting to get back into the cooler season. I think people are back from school, that kind of stuff. So it's really nice to see the group growing. One of the things I want to put out there too, I think I talked about this before, is that I'm offering like a sort of a referral discount. So when we do these from now on, if you refer a friend or if you refer somebody who joins our group, then I will give you a code that you can use next time to get $10 off of the tasting. So if you have some wine-loving friends who want to join us, feel free to refer them to us, and I'll get you that code next time. Thursdays would be better for admin. Is that you, Derek? You guys are always admin, aren't you? Somebody shows up as admin on my computer, so I don't know who that is. Okay, yeah, it is Derek. Cool. So Thursdays would be better for you guys. Okay. Yeah, anybody else wants to chime in and give us your opinion on dates or days of the week? Be more than happy to consider that.
Thursday works for Terry and I.
Okay, cool.
And
Anybody else?
by the way, congratulations on getting your wine cruise.
Thank you. Yes, I'm excited. Yeah,
We're very excited to be. We're looking forward to it.
yeah. I was, I wanted to get you guys locked in. I want to make sure that this is a definite thing because I know you guys have to make plans around that, and as do we. So, for those of you in the group who don't know, I'm doing a wine cruise next year. So, if anybody's interested in joining us for that, we are locked in and we are going for sure. At this point, it's going to be for April 2026, and it's on the Mediterranean. We're going to visit probably four different countries or three different countries, I guess, technically, and two protectorates, Sardinia and Corsica. So that is going to be quite an adventure, and we're going to go on some wine excursions while we're there too. So that was sort of dependent on the number of people who signed up. We weren't really sure if we were doing it or not, but now we're locked in and it's a definite. So I would love to have you all join us if you could. How's everybody doing today? Ready to drink some Australian wines? Maybe you're already drinking them.
We've been looking at this sparkling. It's pretty hot in Virginia Beach today.
Yeah, it's kind of stinky here too, here in Pennsylvania. It's not as bad as it has been, but yeah, it's been humid. So I'm ready to drink some wine. I hope you got them chilled up. And of course, we are going to start with the sparkling wine first. So last time I found it was a little bit more effective if we take the approach of just showing the regions real quick. Take like 5 minutes just to show you where we're going today. And after that, then we just get right into tasting the wines. So if it's okay with you, does anybody have any questions before we begin or anything that you want to learn about today? No? Okay.
We're good.
Well, yeah, go ahead,
I
please.
said we're good.
Okay. All right. Cool. In that case, I'm going to share my screen and show you a map real quick or show you some slides. Thought you would appreciate that picture there. It's a cute picture. So Australia has about 175, maybe 180 years of wine history. If you didn't know, they are flip-flopping between five and six, the largest producer in the world. I think they're six now because we were talking about this last week or last month. Fewer people are drinking wine now. So a lot of major wine producing regions are ripping up their vines and they're chumming them up and they're planting them to other crops instead. So Australia is one of those places where they used to have more grapevines. Now they have less because they're ripping them up in certain regions. Um, I'm sure most of you who were into wine back in the 1990s and the early aughts remember what they called the critter labels, like yellowtail and stuff like that. There was a huge glut of like yellowtail and critter labels in the stores. Australia was number 4 at that point. They were producing so much wine and doing it so cheaply. It was being sold like, water over here in the United States. And the quality was not always there either. So it kind of gave their Australian wines a bad reputation for about a decade or so. So they've kind of toned it back now. They've toned production down. They're between 5 and 6 largest producer in the world, and they're making higher quality wines at this point. Acreage wise, 375,000 acres. That's pretty big. That's actually bigger than Bordeaux in France. Bordeaux is roughly 296,000 acres. So 375,000 is a lot of wine. They produce about 1.2 billion liters, which equivalates 317 million gallons of wine. That's a lot. When you figure that a gallon is about 4 bottles worth of wine, that's quite a lot. That's a lot of bottled wine. Not quite as much as countries like Italy and France, but it's a substantive amount of wine. Excuse me. So their history dates back to when they were an English colony. So first, you guys know they were probably an English penal colony, better known as Oz back in the day. But in the 1800s, they were looking to convert this over to a place for English or for British people to live. So they started to colonize it in the 1800s. And there were people who were tasked with the job of bringing produce and agricultural produce down to the colonies to get them started. So one of the such person is the guy you see here in the picture. His name is James Busby. He was tasked with the challenge to grow grapes on the island, and it was his job to take the grape clippings down there. So he took down 433 different cuttings from Europe, mostly from France and Spain, and those are still down there and established to this day. As you know, Grenache, Syrah, Shiraz, as they call it down there, but Syrah, which is French, and Cabernet Sauvignon are probably the 3 most dominant and predominant grapes down there. And as far as whites, Chardonnay and Riesling do quite a bit down there. It wasn't until 1900s that people started to really kind of catch on to the reputation of these wines. At the time, they had a trade agreement with the UK, and they were producing mostly what they called sticky wines. I don't know if any of you are, you've been in wine long enough to remember Australian stickies, but they're basically like imitating port wine. They're sweet and they're high in alcohol. The Australians call them stickies. They were making stickies for the English market in the late 19th century. Then you have people like, or wineries like Penfolds, which I'm sure most of you know. Penfolds probably makes one of the most famous and the highest quality Australian wines in the world called Grange, which is a Bordeaux style blend. And Penfolds Grange commands like $200 to $300 a bottle easily these days. But it came out in 1951, and people started to pay attention to Australia as a place of quality wine. And then, of course, we just discussed in the 1900s, there's a boom in exports, and there's this technological sort of renaissance in Australia. A lot of it is based on the agricultural industry. Same with New Zealand. A lot of the reason why they started making wine in New Zealand is because they were originally dairy farmers, and they had all the stainless steel tanks and the equipment to produce dairy. And it was a natural transition to move over to the wine industry. So you see this boom in the 1900s where we're getting things like Yellowtail and these mass-produced wines that are not exactly the highest quality in the world, but putting Australia on the map, making a name for itself in the modern wine industry. Now, one of the takeaways, or some of the takeaways I want to share with you today that we might observe in tasting, Australian wines are going to be known for their technical precision and intensity. So there's a couple of reasons for this. One of them, like I said, is because they're tied to an agricultural industry, the dairy industry. So they have a lot of technology on their side, a lot of farming and agriculture technology. There's a research institute, a wine research institute in Adelaide, and that informs a lot of their studies and a lot of their winemaking procedures. So they're very technically precise. They approach their winemaking from a very scientific standpoint. So they're looking for the purity and character of the fruit. So they want to make their wines taste as clean and as powerful as possible. And I think that's something you're going to observe in these wines today. Another thing that kind of helps bolster their reputation and also the quality of their wine, they do a lot of what they call shows down there. So they're actually pretty much exhibitions. So Australian wine shows, they're very famous for their shows, as they call them. But these are wine exhibitions where they judge each other's wines, and they do it in a good spirit. So there's never really any harm or foul meant. It's just they're very direct with each other, and they're very critical, and they award certain wines when they think that they're deserving of awards, and then they criticize wines when they think that the quality should be better. And in doing so, they lift up the entire, the rising tide lifts all the boats in the industry. So the Australian wine shows have really done a lot to raise the quality of Australian wine. And lastly, has anybody in the group ever been to Australia? No. It's one of those places, for as many places as I've traveled in my life, you're going to need like 3 to 4 weeks or maybe even a couple of months to really spend some time down there. And that's one of the reasons why I've never been. So they're famous for this cellar door system that they have there, which means you can buy directly from the winery. It's not something you see here in the United States very often because we have a 3-tier system where there's usually a broker or a distributor that goes in between the winery and the stores. In Australia, they're famous for this cellar door system where you can literally walk up to the winery and just buy the wines right out of their cellar door, which makes accessibility a lot better. So a lot more Australians are used to buying wine and drinking wine than we are here in the United States. Any questions? Okay, cool. Let's take a look real quick. This is the Australian wine map. It's a big, big country, giant landmass. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. There we go. Most of the wine is being produced down in the south and especially the southeast of the island or the continent, which is where our wines are coming from today. So out of all these regions that you see here, most of the wine is actually produced in this corner right here. As a matter of fact, you see this line here on the map? This line here sort of divides the really high wine production region from the smaller regions over here, which are not producing as much wine. So this is where the lion's share of all the wine produced in the country is coming from. And this line here, very confusingly, everything down here, southeast of this line, can be called Southeastern Australia. So you may notice, I don't know if we have it on our bottles here, you may notice on the back of the bottles, it'll say produced at so-and-so winery, Southeastern Australia. This is a very generic term. It can cover any wine or winery that's producing in this region down here. But specifically, we're going to be drinking wines from South Australia, right in this region here by the ocean. And we're going to be drinking from Tasmania, the northern part of Tasmania. Okay, so the wine production, as I said, is concentrated in the southeast and the southwestern regions, predominantly southeast. You get altitude, ocean breezes, and the ocean serves to moderate these regions. Up here, believe it or not, this continent is so huge that this is up. The northern part of it is in the tropics, so it's very hot and humid up in the north. And then, of course, the central part of Australia is almost all desert. So that is the cooler regions in the south, closer to the ocean. That's where you can find most of the wine being produced. It's too big to categorize into one type of soil. There are so many different types of soils on a landmass this large. So really nothing, we can't generalize in any way, shape, or form when it comes to the soils. We're going to be drinking from the Barossa Valley today. We're going to be Grenache, the last one we have. That's a warm Mediterranean climate. And it's better known for its Shiraz and Cabernet Sauvignon, but we have a Grenache today because I wanted to try something a little different. Coonawarra, which is also down in the south here. That's famous for that Terra Rossa soil. It's this red clay soil, which they say imparts a very unique characteristic to this Cabernet Sauvignon that's made in that region. And it's especially known for its Cabernet Sauvignon. Coonawarra Cabernet Sauvignon, also famously known for having a little bit of a eucalyptus flavor too, which is really interesting. Some people theorize it's because pollinators cross-pollinate with the eucalyptus trees down there. Not really sure why, but it's just a coincidence that it's known for that eucalyptus flavor in the wine. Margaret River, we're not going to be drinking anything from there, but they're best known for their Chardonnay and Cabernet Sauvignon, particularly Chardonnay. And then, of course, we're going to be going to Tasmania for our sparkling wine. And that is a very cool climate there. It's it's very close to the south. The southernmost southernmost regions where you can grow wine. So you get down to the regions where like New Zealand is, and it's very cool down there. Okay, any questions? All right, let's pop open that sparkling wine and let's drink it and talk about it. Tasmania, as I mentioned, is a cooler climate, and because it's a smaller island, it's more influenced by the ocean. So it's going to be mitigated. Temperatures there are going to be mitigated by the proximity to the ocean, which makes it a cooler region. And you guys probably know from past tastings, when you have a cool region, usually you grow cooler climate grapes like Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. And in this case, Pinot Meunier too, which is the third grape that they use in Champagne in France. So this is a Jansz, and I found out that the winery is actually named after Abel Janszoon Tasman, which is a very Dutch name. And as you know, the Dutch are the people who also colonized South Africa too. So it doesn't surprise that this guy was a Dutchman, and he was the first person to sight the island and to plant feet on it. So we're going to start. This is a rosé, if I didn't say that. And this is made with Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Pinot Meunier, the three grapes that you're going to find in fine Champagne. And it's made in the same method too. So fermented in the bottle. Grapes are all hand harvested, and this is aged on the yeast for up to a year. So it's going to have that nice biscuity flavor too. And it's interesting. You probably know the term méthode champenoise. Méthode champenoise is the method that they use to make fine champagne, but they can't call it that here. So they've sort of adopted their own term. They call it méthode tasmanoise, which is obviously made up. But they're just trying to show you that they're making it in the same quality as fine champagne. Wow, I don't know about you guys. Have you poured this into your glass yet? I got a really, really vigorous bubble on this wine. It's really super aggressive. I don't know if you can see that or not. And fun fact, when you get bubbles in your wine like that, the reason why you get more or less is because your glass has little microscopic particles inside of it that are causing that CO2 to precipitate out of the wine. So the more bubbles you have, chances are your glass is dirty. Beautiful nose. You can smell some of that biscuitiness on there. I'm getting a little bit of like some berries on that nose too, and apple, maybe some pear, Bosc pear. Anybody else? You want to chime in and let me know what you're tasting and what you're sensing?
Red fruit.
Definitely. Yeah, even like maybe like a Washington apple, like a red apple.
Yeah, even yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm tasting like a definite rose flavor, but I taste a some kind of spice like a cinnamon or
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. You're making me taste it now. I think just the power of suggestion. I think I'm getting something in there. But yeah, what would that be? Because it's not oak aged, so there's no oak in this wine. Yeah, it does have like a little bit of spiciness to it.
Yeah.
Well, these would themselves give spice.
Did any of you make some of the dishes that I suggested?
No.
We did the goat cheese and lemon and honey on cracklers.
Oh, cool. Well, that is an easy one, and it usually works really well. How is it pairing nicely?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, that's one of my little go-tos when I don't really have much in the pantry. If you have some bread, you have some honey and cheese, you can do a lot with those. And a lot of times I'll put pistachios on top of it just for a little crunch. It's nice.
We've
Ooh,
got
yeah,
broths we've got brats for dinner to go with the other wine, but it was too early, so we're gonna taste and then we're gonna cook.
Yeah. The brats are going to be really good with the Riesling,
Yeah.
especially if you use a little mustard on your brats. Mustard is great with Riesling.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So you may have seen here on this this panel, this one deck slide that I made here. This winery was founded with a 1986 partnership with the French champagne maker Louis Roederer. So obviously Roederer is a French champagne maker, very famous, very expensive, high quality champagnes. They recognized something down here in Tasmania and decided to set up shop here too. So this winery is sort of their birth child. So, you know, I will say in doing my research for these wines, I found out that all three of these wines are under the same corporate umbrella. So they're all owned by the same company. So it seems like this one company down here has a really huge presence. And that's probably why wine.com is selling all three of them too, because they have a good salesperson. That's a nice wine. I really enjoyed that a lot. I could probably not, if you put this blind in front of me, I would guess it's a really fine champagne, nice champagne, and wouldn't know that it comes from Tasmania at all.
We were at a tasting. I think it was at the International Pinot Noir thing, and they had I think these guys there, and they had other sparkling wines, and it was very easy to believe that it was that it was not champagne.
Yep, this is good stuff, and I think out of the three that we had, this was the most expensive, wasn't it? I think it was like $28 or something like that for the bottle, which is fairly reasonable. You know, it's a little bit more than most people would pay for like a daily drinker, but it's a lot less than what you would pay for champagne of the same quality and the same caliber. So yeah, that's a really nice wine, and yeah, I'm gonna have to, after I'm done here, I'm gonna have to invite some friends over, and we're gonna have to drink the rest of that. Do you all have one of these stoppers? I don't know if you're all equipped like I am, but yeah, I got these champagne stoppers that keep the bubbles in. You can keep them good for up to like 4 days, I found. And as the level of wine goes down in the bottle, of course, it gets harder and harder to keep the bubble because there's less pressure, there's less liquid in there, less CO2. So naturally, the pressure is going to be less. But if you have like, a fairly full bottle like this one right here, that'll keep for like up to 4 or 5 days with that stopper on it.
We got our little chill bag too, because since you got us hooked on kava with brunch, the kids all bought us accessories. So we have the
nice.
little ice bag to slide it in and the little thing to pop the top so we don't lose all our bubbles.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry I corrupted you guys.
You did.
Well, that's cool. Does anybody have any questions about this? This is from the northern part of Tasmania, and they call this region Sparkling Tasmania because it's known specifically for sparkling wine.
The bubbles are very fine, which
Nice.
I normally think of as good.
And we've spoken about this before, but for those who haven't been with us, or for those who are just joining us new, the quality of a champagne or quality of a sparkling wine is also often determined by the size of the bubbles in it. So there's very fine bubble that's in here. The French refer to that as the mousse because it should be really like kind of frothy and kind of light and gentle in the mouth. So the finer the mousse, the higher the quality typically. And then I've also mentioned to you before, the large bubbles that are really coarse and kind of like stuff you would find in like a cheaper Prosecco, for example, or like a cheaper sparkling wine, like a Barefoot or something like that. They're really large and coarse. They're actually injected either with CO2 tanks or they're made in a large tank in bulk and then put into the bottle. So that's a different method and it's usually lower quality. The French refer to that big bubble as Oeil de Grenouille, which means the eye of a frog. French are very poetic with their descriptions, and they're not very forgiving either when they don't like something. So yeah, calling the bubble in a piece of in a sparkling wine the eye of a frog, not very flattering. Any questions or any comments about this one in particular? Now, mind you, I'm sharing my screen, so I can't see comments in the chat section right now. So if you're sharing comments, I can't see them. So just unmute your mic and ask me questions if you have any.
No, I thought it was delicious.
That's nice, isn't it, Karen?
Yeah, it was Karen. I thought it was delicious.
Yeah. Who do you have with you today?
My daughter.
Hi.
Hi, daughter.
Hey, I'm
You had a
Tony.
Philly accent. I said daughter, didn't I?
Tony.
Yeah, Tony.
Hi, Tony. How you doing? I'm Marc.
Good, nice to meet you.
Welcome. Are you drinking too?
Yes, I am.
What did you think of this one?
Oh, it was really tasty.
Yeah, this is a nice one.
Mhm.
I would definitely buy that again.
Got the soft bubbles that you were talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Yep, that's now you know what to look for as you're drinking. You may have already known that anyway, but if you didn't, next time you have friends over and you want to buy a nice bottle of wine, check out those bubbles and make sure that you got a nice fine mousse in that glass. I actually have mousse wine glasses. My father-in-law used to live up in New Hampshire, and he loves all things mousse. So we actually have fine crystal glasses with a mousse on the front of them. I missed an opportunity. I should have broke them out. Okay, cool. So that is a really beautiful wine. I'm going to let that sit here. I'm going to go back and revisit that as we go along. But let's move to the Riesling, shall we? I had to do a Riesling because obviously everybody thinks of Bavaria, Austria, Germany when it comes to Riesling, but you don't really think of Australia very often. But Australia has this one region here called the Eden Valley. And this is actually right next to Barossa. And they're well known, they're famous for their Rieslings. So let's pour some of that Riesling. And you'll take note that they're actually sort of celebrating the German tradition of using the long, tall bottle that they use in Alsace and Germany and Austria. A lot of German settlers in this southern part. As a matter of fact, German Lutherans were responsible for setting up this region. And in particular, this guy was from Great Britain. So we were talking about how this was a British colony, or these were British colonies at one point. So Eden Valley.
Wow. Wow.
We're off mute, by the way. I was going to say, I can really smell the petroleum.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I haven't gotten to it yet. We'll have to talk about that. Oh, yeah. Wow. Woo.
I don't hear the smell. Wow.
Oh.
I have a stuffy nose and I smelled that.
Man. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. So the guy who founded this, he came from UK originally, and he lived in a place called the Vale of Pewsey in Wiltshire, United Kingdom. So this winery is named after this guy's original home in the UK, Pewsey Vale. And he was a British guy, of course, as I said. And it's the first vineyard in the Eden Valley. So they've been there since 1847. Okay, so wow, yeah. Let's talk about the gasoline or the petrol aromas in the wine. This is a phenomenon, or it's actually it's a chemical compound called TDN. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, it's 1,1-trimethyl 6-dihydronaphthalene. That's the technical name of the chemical compound that causes that smell. It comes from Riesling grapes, the skin. So the skin is actually trying to protect the grape in sunny regions, and it's got sort of like a built-in, like, in human beings, we have melanin to protect us from the sun exposure and from UV rays. Grapes have a similar protective feature that protects them from UV rays, and it's this TDN compound. So when Riesling grapes are exposed to sunny spots or a lot of sunshine, they develop this compound called TDN. And they find that the TDN really kind of manifests itself in the wine as sort of a petrol or like a gasoline aroma. So there's no actual gasoline in your wine, don't worry. But it's just a very common smell that comes from Riesling grapes that have been exposed to a lot of sunshine. What do you think? Are you guys a fan of that smell or not?
I love it.
It doesn't taste like gasoline. It just has the smell.
It seems like it's dissipating as it sits in the glass.
Yes, TDN will blow off. with time in the glass.
Or-
So the longer the glass sits there, it'll kind of air
Or
out.
else we're getting used to it.
Yeah, there's that too. But the wine itself, there's not any petrol or gasoline flavor on the wine. To me, it's more of a crisp and clear. Like we were talking about how Australian wines are very precise and clean. So it's very clean and precise and direct to me. And I'm getting a lot of that sort of lychee fruit that you get off of this and Gewürztraminer. Some pears, like a really ripe pear or a green apple. And a little bit of citrus too. Anybody else want to weigh in?
Yeah, Mark, we've got the 22. We couldn't get the 23. And also picking up the same petroleum odors on it. It's almost overwhelming in the petroleum odor. So it kind of blocks and masks some of the other odors and flavors from it. So
yeah, it can be a very divisive characteristic in Riesling. Some people love it and other people do not like it. So unfortunately, I can't control. It seems like this is probably a feature of this particular winery. This is by the way, they do nothing but Riesling. I looked at their website and I was doing research earlier today, and they're dedicated to one grape and one grape only. So every wine that they make is Riesling. So this is classic Germanic style Riesling. And yeah, that petrol aroma in there is really overwhelming. Some people like it, some don't. It's really overwhelming on the nose, such that you can't smell anything else in the wine. But when you taste the wine, it's there's definitely more there.
Yeah.
Some lemon lime.
Yeah, one of the things wine drinkers often say Riesling tastes like is lime peel. So like the outside of the peel of a lime. I don't know if you've ever had a lime tree or ever been around a lime tree. The leaves themselves are really very strong and they have a very specific smell. It's more green than like the skin of a lime. So sometimes lime leaf is a description that people will use when they're talking about Riesling as well.
Marc, is this petroleum smell that we're having more prominent or more common in Australian Rieslings as opposed to others in other parts of the world?
I think it's common in parts of the world where more sun exposure is obviously the cause. So in sunny vineyards and sunny areas of the world, you're going to get it more often. But it's also a feature of how the winemaker or the wine grower grows the grapes too, because you can do things in the vineyard to manage how much UV rays are hitting your grapes. So in other words, the winemakers will often grow the canopy of leaves over top of the grapes to protect them from the sunlight. So there are things you can do in the vineyard to kind of mitigate that. So this is not only is it a function of Mother Nature, but it's also a function of the winemaker's technique and skill. So this was, in other words, what I'm saying is I think this was a choice. The winemaker chose to make it this way.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think there are, some of the Riesling snobs out there, they really love this TBN in their wine. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Sometimes it's nice, sometimes it's not. Sometimes I want to drink a wine, sometimes I don't. I want to taste gasoline in my wine.
I think it moderates a little bit as the wine opens up. I definitely noticed that.
The wine itself is very good. It's enjoyable to drink. Yeah.
Not to smell.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to expect. That is very common with certain regions of Germany. Usually you see it in the Mosel Valley in Germany, but I did not expect that from Australia.
It looks like most of you guys are inside, so you're probably in the air conditioning, but we're outside and it's in the 80s and ours is warming up relatively quickly. And it's making that aroma change, and it's also making the crisp citrus flavor a little more mellow as it warms.
Interesting.
Well, that's good to know. I can't believe you guys are outside torturing yourselves like that. It seems like it's pretty hot out there, to be honest.
We've been working earlier today on sanding, staining, and making repairs on our deck.
Oh, so this probably feels pretty good.
Which it's a really big deck, so it was nice to have an excuse to knock off at 4 and sit down and drink. And it feels pretty good to be in the shade. So no complaints.
It's all relative, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I told you guys that. Well,
we can sit out here and admire what we've accomplished. It looks great. So there you go. But if you see my fingers are green, it's because I was cleaning.
Oh, okay. No, I can't see that well. But yeah, green thumb. Gotcha.
So the humidity here is 19%.
Wow. You guys are so lucky, man. It's been a really hot and humid summer here on the East Coast. And yeah,
Where's here?
New Mexico.
Where's
New Mexico?
New Mexico. Oh.
13% humidity. I would kill for that right now. God, it was like 79 or 80% the other day, or like, I think one day we had like 90% humidity. It was crazy.
It's the worst.
Okay, so what do you think? Is this getting better for you guys now? I don't want to use the word better because there was nothing wrong with it. It's just, yeah, that TDN in there can be a little alarming and shocking at first. But are you enjoying this wine otherwise?
Yeah, we like it. I was actually saying we were surprised that it's a dry Riesling. I would have thought like more semi-dry.
Why? How so, or why so, Sarah?
It's a little sweeter than I expected it to be.
Yeah. There's a little residual sugar on there, but it's amazing how little you can detect on a wine. Sometimes it's just like a point of a percent that the winemaker will leave in there just to kind of like give the mouthfeel a little bit more of a lushness and a richness to it. So technically, it's a dry wine. It even says it on the bottle, dry Riesling. But there's probably a little bit of residual sugar in there just to give it a little bit of sweetness that is slightly detectable.
Especially in a place like the Mosel, where it's cool, you have to have at least a little residual sugar, or the acidity, which is very, very high, would overpower the wine.
And I know this because I did the research. I know this wine here is 100% Riesling. But in case you're wondering, and we may have talked about this last month, you're allowed to use other grapes in the wine and you can still call it Riesling. In California, you only have to use 75% of the main grape and you can call it a Cabernet Sauvignon, but there may be other grapes in that wine and you don't have to put them on the label. In Australia, it's 85%. So when they make wines, if they want to call it a Riesling, they only have to use 85% of the Riesling, and they can put other things in there if they want to. But we know because this winery here specifically makes only Riesling that this is all 100% Riesling. It's really good. I'm kind of, it's growing on me. And I think I'm either getting used to or that TDN kind of aromas are blowing off of it. I don't find it to be as intense anymore. And I'm actually kind of liking it. I don't know. What about you guys?
Mark, I'm loving this wine. I love Riesling. So when I first smelled it, I was like lemon, lime, and petrol. Whether it's petrol or not, I don't care. I love Riesling. And it's, I think it's a little lighter than like German Rieslings.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. I mean, that's our tastes. We all have different sensibilities, obviously. But yes, I think I agree with you is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to look on the bottle. I can't see it because my eyes are really bad. What is the alcohol content on this one? Can anybody see that?
Where is
11%. 11.5%.
Maybe it's on the front.
It's on the back and it's not very legible. It's like really fine print. And I'm old. Or at least my eyes are old. Yes, 11.5%, which is, it's like much light for wine, I would say. Most Chardonnays that you drink are going to be clocking in and around 12 or 13%. So this is on the lighter side.
Oh, there it is, 11.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to really look. I could barely find it. Okay, cool.
And it looks like some of the vines are pretty old too. It says 61 to 2010.
Yes. This is something that is, we've talked about phylloxera before in the past. I try to avoid it because it can be a little heady sometimes to talk about. But are you guys familiar with phylloxera?
It's a lousy tongue.
Phylloxera is a louse. It's a pest that grows. It lives on the roots of vines. So actually, here in the United States, if you were to take a grapevine and rip it out of the ground and look at the roots of the grapevine, there would be little nematodes, little pests living on that symbiotically along with the grapevine. So they have a symbiotic relationship where they feed off of some of the microbes and the smaller things that kind of like live on the roots of grapevines. The problem is that American rootstock and American grapevines are immune to it, but European vines are not. So in the 1800s, they inadvertently took American grapevines back to Europe and infected all of their grapevines. And in the 1870s, I think it was probably from about 1870 to 1900, it took about 30 years, but that pest decimated almost every single vineyard in Europe. So killed all the vines. They lost their industry, their wine industry. There was a mass exodus of winemakers down to South America into the United States, which is why you'll find a lot of French and Italian winemakers in South America, because they all left in the 1800s when this pest had decimated all the vineyards of Europe. So they actually had to replant and rebuild all the vineyards that are in Europe right now, all because of this single pest. The Phylloxera devastatrix is what it's called. And they found out that the solution was to take the rootstock from American vines, cut off the top, and graft the European vines on top of them, because the roots from American grape vines are immune to this pest. So if you go to Europe and you go and look at any of the vineyards in Europe right now, you'll notice that there's a graft at the bottom of every vine, and they're all grafted onto American rootstock. So you'll see that if you look closely enough. But there are certain parts of the world where that pest never made inroads. So South America, for one, and Chile, because it's protected on the eastern side by the Andes Mountains and it's protected on the west by the Atlantic Ocean. So the pest never made it to places like Chile and also south of Australia. So a lot of these are original. Where I'm going with this anyway is they didn't have the pest infestation in certain parts of Australia, so they have original rootstock and original vines in southern Australia. And some of these vines are hundreds of years old. So somebody made the observation that these are older vines. Also, our Grenache, the next wine that we're going to be tasting, is made from older vines as well, too. Anywhere up to 100 years old in some cases. And if you don't know, older vines produce less fruit, but they produce higher quality fruit. There are certain vines out there. I think I saw one in the Republic of Georgia, maybe, that they say is one of the oldest vines in the world. And I think it's about 3,000 or 4,000 years old. And it produces like one cluster of grapes every year. Something else I want to call out too, just came to mind. Australia passed a law in the 1960s for equal pay for women, which really did much to bolster women's participation in the industry. And yes, so I think all three of our wines, or at least two of the three, to my knowledge, are made by women winemakers. All right, any questions or comments, any feedback? Okay, let's go to the red. And Yalumba. I see this in the stores every time I go to my store. I know it could seem like it's probably like, a bottom shelf brand, or you see it so often that it seems ubiquitous. But they're actually one of the originals, one of the very first wineries in the Barossa Valley, founded in 1849. And here's where the German Lutherans come into play. We were talking about how this area was established by German Lutherans. This guy, Samuel Smith, was one such character, and he founded the winery in 1849. So this is Australia's oldest family-owned winery. It's 6 generations in at this point. And this family here, the Hill Smith family, these are the bigwigs that own all three, or seem to have corporate control over all three of the wines that we're drinking here today. So that's the family who seems to be running the show. Now we know the Barossa Valley is a little bit warmer there. The part of the ocean that Barossa is close to is more of a Mediterranean climate. So it tends to stay relatively moderate in temperature all year round and low humidity. Better known for Cabernet and Shiraz, but in this case, we're going to do a Grenache. And these are the, we were talking about the old vines. These are planted anywhere from 1920 to the 1970s. So anywhere from 100 to 50 to 100 years old for these vines. This spends some time in neutral oak, but neutral oak means that they use barrel 3 or 4 times. And after the 3rd or 4th use, it's not giving any flavor off anymore. So it's what they call neutral oak. So the barrel doesn't really do anything other than serve as a vessel to hold the wine. So they age it 9 months in neutral French oak. It may pick up a little bit oak, but not much. I got my big glass after this one. Make sure it breathes.
I have a question, Mark. Does dry farmed mean that there's no, they don't water them, they just have to fend for themselves?
Yeah, they will irrigate if they need to, but yes, dry farm predominantly means that they let the vines and Mother Nature take over because they find that grapes actually produce better fruit when they struggle, when they're left to kind of fend for themselves, and they throw their roots down into the soil really deep to try to find an aquifer or to find sources of water. And they find that when the vine is put in that type of environment, it actually produces better fruit. So they say, like, to stress, you want to stress the vines a little bit. So stressed grapevines actually produce better fruit. So yes, dry farming is a technique that's used where you just abstain from irrigating the vines and you let them fend for themselves.
I wish that my garden had the same experience.
Yeah, you got to let the vines grow from anywhere from 30 to 100 years or more. So yeah, it takes a long time to establish that root system in the grapes. You don't even get really good fruit for the first couple of years when you plant grapevines. Most winemakers, when they're establishing a winery, will say that you don't even get any fruit for the first 4 years. It's not until the 5th year that it's really established enough to produce fruit. Now, one of the things I want to point out about this wine is that it's vegan friendly. Does anybody want to take a guess at what that means? Like, how is a wine?
They don't use egg whites to find the wine.
Yes. Yeah, was that you, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I can't see everybody when I'm screen sharing here like this. I don't see who it is, but I know your voice. Yes. Yeah, so vegan friendly wines, it's kind of an interesting concept, but it matters. It matters to some consumers. Finding a wine means that you're filtering out, or you're using techniques to get rid of all the sediment in a wine. So if you've ever made wine before, or if you made beer at home before, you'll notice that it's cloudy when it's being fermented. So the way that they get all those particles out of the wine is to let it settle down to the bottom of the barrel, and then they rack it off of the barrel and take the clear stuff off. But you can't get sometimes you do get some of the sediment, so you end up with a cloudy wine. Well, the ancient solution to getting rid of the particles and the clouds in your wine was to use some sort of a binding agent. The science escapes me right now. I think it was called a colloid, maybe. But it has to do with how the substance is ionically charged and it attracts other particles. So basically, you put something into the wine and it attracts all the particles in the wine, and it clots them up and sinks to the bottom of the wine, is what I'm trying to articulate here. So oftentimes they use like bentonite clay. Bentonite clay is one substance, but in the old times, they used to use egg whites and milk. So that is where the animal products come in. In modern times, they use something, what is it called? Isinglass. Isinglass is a substance that I used when I was a budding winemaker, to filter my wines and make them clean. It's made from the swim bladder of a fish. So they actually take pieces of fish and dry them out, and they grind them up into a powder. And they find that this powder, for some reason, attracts particles in wine and makes it clear, gets rid of the cloudiness. So yeah, sometimes you're using, in old world Italy, you see them use egg whites a lot. They actually have machines. You can look it up on YouTube or something. but they have machines that were made for separating the yolks away from the whites of the eggs, and they'll do like 100 in a minute because they just need the egg whites. And they use the egg whites. They pour them into the barrel of wine. They stir it up with a stick, and maybe a day or two later, it pulls everything down to the bottom and gets rid of all the cloudy stuff. That's what it means when a wine is vegan friendly. They're not using gelatin, milk, or eggs. They're probably using bentonite clay, which is another thing that I've used before.
Lots of the places in the world, they give the yolks to the nuns.
Do they?
To bake stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. No, Glenn, you're right. You know what? Now that I think about it, there's a place in southern France that's really famous for their pastries that are made with the egg yolks. I can't, it escapes me right now, but it's near Saint-Emilion in Bordeaux.
Yeah. I think
there's
places in Spain too.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yes, and I think in Portugal, there's an egg custard that they make. The pastéis de Belém. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, the wine itself. What do you guys think? Ooh, very herbaceous.
Actually, we kind of got a little bit of like a molasses or brown sugar, just a hint.
Herbs.
I'm getting herbs like dried sage or tarragon.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I got a lot of cherry.
Yes. The one thing that wine professionals, or I don't know, wine people, wine snobs, I don't know, whatever you call them, wine people say that Grenache reminds them of is fruit roll-ups.
Is what?
Fruit roll-ups, like fruit leather. Yeah, that's the one way, like when I was doing my WSET exams, they always used to say you have certain ringers that you look for when you want to identify a wine blind. And the ringer for Grenache was fruit leather or fruit roll-ups, strawberry fruit roll-ups.
Interesting.
I said it's strawberry jello at first.
Oh,
did you?
Strawberry jello. Yeah. I find that it's very smooth and that it has like a nutmeg. That's the first thing I tasted was this like burst. I'm all about, I guess, spices because I tasted vanilla in the Grenache.
Riesling.
Yeah, I mean the Riesling, sorry. Yeah. So
yeah, was it you who said you tasted got a little bit of spiciness out of the sparkling wine too?
Yeah. Cinnamon.
You're our spice, Lynn. You're our spice girl.
I'm a spice girl.
Yeah. Which one would you be? Are you sporty spice or?
I'd be nutmeg.
Yeah.
She's not one of them.
Nutty spice?
I'd be the nutty spice.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really nice one. Grenache is, one of the three big wines that you're going to find, red wines down in Australia. Cabernet Sauvignon, obviously the biggest one, and Shiraz, the second one. And they also do what they call GSM blends down there. I'm sure you've seen these before. Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. Those are three classic grapes that they grow in the south of France in the Rhone Valley. And they do very well in the south of Australia as well. So you'll see a lot of GSM blends coming from from Australia. But I love Grenache personally. I don't think it gets a lot of love. I don't think it gets a lot of respect, but it's a wonderful wine. And it's just very simple. Usually there's not really a lot of complexity there. It's very straightforward. Like I said, fruit leather, fruit roll-ups, strawberries, and maybe just a touch of spice in there too. Nutty spice.
Now, is the region where this is made in Australia different than that of Southern Rhone or even Spain? Because this Grenache doesn't seem to be as fruit forward as the Grenaches I've tasted in those regions.
Yeah, it's a little bit more herbal
there, but not as pronounced.
This is a little bit more herbal or herbaceous,
right?
Well, Rhone Valley
with that.
Yeah, I think I do. The Rhone, I don't know, Karen, maybe not. Now that I'm thinking about this, we've talked about this many, many moons ago. There's a term in the Rhone called garrigue, Garrigue, Garrigue. And it's a term that they use to describe an herbaceous kind of scent. If you've been to California before and you've ever stood on the coast of California, like up in Northern California along like Route 1, Big Sur in that area, they have lots of like scrub brush growing on the side of the hills. And if you just get out of your car at one of the rest stops and you kind of like stop and look out over the ocean, you can actually smell. It's like sagebrush, it's like rosemary. There's other like different kind of herbs and scrub brushes that grow on the sides of the hills. And they actually have like it smells wonderful. It smells like potpourri. But the French call that garrigue. So garrigue is the description of these scrub brushes and these herbs that are growing in the Rhone Valley that kind of like have this like collective scent. So I'm kind of getting a little bit out of that on this wine here. So this feels a little bit like a Rhone Grenache to me. I think what I'm not getting is, I think it's a little bit more intense in France. I think France, the alcohol levels tend to be a little bit higher in French Grenache. So this one to me feels a little bit more plush and soft. I don't know. What do you think?
Yes, I'd say that it's just I just don't think it's fruit forward. It's like a Spanish. The Grenache is the same thing as Grenache, or however
Yes,
is it not?
Yes.
Or some of the GSM blends. I think this was a little bit more herbaceous to me.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it's just the producer.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's hard to say because we're tasting one among like hundreds of them out there. So, yes, I think you're right in that it's definitely more herbaceous. That was one of the first things I picked up on out of the glass. But yeah, in comparison, like a Spanish Garnacha, they're just like all fruit. You know, especially if they're grown in the northern part, like the Vale in that region where it gets really hot and warm. Like usually you just get all alcohol and like fruit flavors out of the wine. This one I think is a little more sophisticated and has a little bit more depth and complexity to it. It's nice. I don't know. Do you like it?
I do. It's good to get the range. I mean, the range of what the grape can do depending upon where it's grown. So I've definitely learned something.
I like it, and I think it would be really good with like a steak with a cherry barbecue sauce with the cherries.
Yeah, that sounds good. Like, yeah, cherry barbecue sauce.
Marc, we had
sorry,
the one because we weren't able to get the 22, and we paired it with a chocolate mousse, and the chocolate mousse overpowered it. It didn't seem like it was that strong. It was on the lighter side than what I would consider, or we would consider Grenache to be.
Interesting. Did you make the mousse yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it sweet or is it like a dry, kind of like more of a bitter kind of chocolate mousse?
More of a bitter chocolate mousse.
Yeah, that might be the reason why. Yeah, I think you have to kind of bump the sugar up a little bit. More like a milk chocolate would probably be better.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's no right or wrong way to do it. That was just a suggestion, like to do the chocolate mousse. It usually tastes like a cherry cordial to me when you mix it with chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you hit on something there, Marc. So I got a tuxedo cake, which has a white chocolate layer, which goes better than the darker chocolate.
Oh, yeah. That sounds good, actually. White chocolate. I think that would be the way to go. Yeah, sorry. I hope I didn't misguide you with the chocolate mousse suggestion.
No, they're all good. I love your pairing suggestions because it gives me a place to go. So thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this would be a great barbecue wine. To Amy's point, cherry barbecue sauce would probably kick it up a notch too, but just like regular sweet barbecue sauce too would probably be really good with a wine like this.
I should say that Ben had salmon with the Grenache beforehand, and he said that was a better pairing.
Yeah, the Grenache is good. I like the lighter end of some of the reds.
So did you do anything in particular to the salmon, or was it just naked?
Naked on the grill.
Yeah, oh, that sounds good. I'm hungry. Okay.
Smoke grill or gas grill?
Gas.
It was gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No cedar plank.
Cedar planks are like one of those things. I don't know about you guys, but you buy them at the store and then you lose them. You forget where you put them, or they just sit. You use them once and they get all grimy, and you throw them in a pantry or something like that, and you forget about them for about 10 years. Just me? No, I'm speaking from experience, but probably just me. Okay, I want to show you real quick.
No, I think it's everyone. That's why
Yeah,
you have to have a can't pull them back out.
yeah, especially when you grill like a salmon on them. They're really hard to clean after that because then they get all the fat and the scales on them and everything. Okay, let's just take a look at this real quick. I know you know where we are. We've kind of already talked about this, but I just want to show you on the map what this is all about, what it looks like. Obviously, Australia here. And okay, let's go to Tasmania first. So that's where our first vine comes from. You can see how close to the coast that is. Actually, if you look at pictures of this winery, you can actually see the ocean from the winery. So this right there, that's Jansz. That's where the sparkling wine is made. A very, very cool part of the country. Obviously, they call it Sparkling Alley or Sparkling Territory up here. And you can see how verdant it is, too. Very, very green, like the northern part of Spain. And there's our winery right there. So not very big. If I'm looking correctly, yeah, see, here's my scale down here. So that's 1 mile. So this is literally 3 miles from the ocean. And then the other two up here. And as we know, or as I think I pointed out, Eden Valley and Barossa are right next to each other. So we have 2 wines, one from Eden Valley and one from Barossa. So there's Yalumba up there. That's where our red that we're drinking right now comes from. And that's the region's first winery. So you can see, based on the picture here, it's a very old winery, very old building. And then down here, is where our Eden Valley Riesling is coming from. When you look at the scenery, the landscape here, it's not unlike California, which is very similar. It's a lot of scrub brush, a lot of desert, dry area. Yeah, not much to look at there. You can see there's the winery though. That's Pewsey Vale. Okay, that's all I wanted to show you where everything came from. Let's stop the screen share now and let's just hang out.
Yeah, Mark?
Yes.
Me and my companion here, Gwen, think you should do a cruise to Australia. We will definitely sign up.
Wow, that would be awesome.
Yes.
Okay, noted. I will mention that to my. Yeah, I will. Let's get on that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mark, do me a favor.
Yes.
Sorry. And resend your upcoming cruise specifics because I know I've got it, but I filed it away somewhere. So you can either resend it to me, this is Rob, or just send it to everyone.
I'm sorry, you dropped out there, Rob. Could you repeat what you said there?
Yeah, just send your spring wine cruise. I think it's April you're doing the European cruise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it filed away somewhere, but I forgot about it. So if you just resend it to either the group or me, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, hold on for a minute. I'm going to do it right now.
That's how good you are.
If I can remember where it is. Oh, okay. All right.
Mark, is there are a lot of Australian wines, do they have like screw caps, or did we just happen to have 2 with screw caps?
No, that's very observant of you. Actually, Australia is the place that sort of embraced. It's known technically as the Stelvin enclosure. So if you want to be a real geek and want people to hate you for being a geek, use the term Stelvin enclosure because that's what it's technically called. But they're the ones who pioneered that and embraced it. So you will find that most Australian wines use the Stelvin or screw cap. And a lot of it is about sustainability, because screw caps are a lot more sustainable and a lot cheaper to produce than cork. Cork is technically very hard and very labor intensive to make. It comes from the bark of a tree, and it takes 9 years for that bark to grow. So it's not necessarily sustainable or practical. So they have to grow these huge cork forests. Most of them are in Portugal, and they strip the bark off of the trees and they stamp the corks out of the bark. And it takes 9 years for that bark to grow back. So it's not an easy process. And the bark can get infected too, and it can spoil the wine. So yes, Australia is one of the very first countries to pioneer the Stelvin enclosure. And you'll find that almost all Australian wines have that, unless, of course, you have like a sparkling wine.
Two comments. First, and I think that the advent of Stelvin in Australia and New Zealand too cleaned up the cork business, because 20, 30 years ago, 1 out of 10 corks was tainted.
Yes.
And that's just not true anymore. They really had to get their what together.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of the Stelvins.
Yes. And when you find that 10% doesn't seem like much, but when you consider how much wine is produced throughout the world, to lose 10% of that ruins industries. That can tank an industry. So that's a lot of wine. So yes, but also, we talk about this quite often. Climate change is a real thing, and anybody who's a farmer or works in the agricultural industry will tell you that. They see it from firsthand. They see it with their own 2 eyes. The changes that are happening in their vineyards based on the climate change. And sustainability is a huge issue in Australia. So most of the wineries, and I think I found all 3 of these that we have here today, they're all certified for sustainability, because it's a huge issue in the wine industry. It's a huge industry it's a huge issue in the agricultural industry in general, but in the wine industry, it can make or break you. So that you're going to find a lot of these wineries are trying to use. As a matter of fact, I think I read that Yalumba has one of the largest solar arrays in Australia. So they're all solar power. And then the dry farming, Amy, to your point, the dry farming is also another sustainable practice. So you're not using as much water. So it's a twofold benefit. Cool. I put the link to the cruise in the chat so you guys can find that. That does not provide all the information there. So let me do one more thing. I'm going to go to my wine events, and I'm going to link you to that, because that gives you all the details. It tells you about the excursions and everything. So I'm going to put that in there too.
So Mark, to Lynn's point, I have this friend who's probably done 15 or 20 Oceania cruises. And I know she's been to Australia. So I know Oceania does a nice cruise to Australia.
Okay. All right. So I think I know where we're going next. Yeah, we're going to have to get that one set up. I would love to go.
And I think you got somebody to set it up too.
Yeah. Well, I have a travel agent that I work with, unless you know somebody else. Okay, let's do our little poll.
What are you talking about for public?
So, which wine did you enjoy most today? No wrong answers. Oh man, I just went back to the sparkling wine. That is beautiful. It's been sitting here on the table for the past hour, and that's delicious. Okay. Oh, we have 10 out of 10. Wow. 100% participation here. Oh man, nobody for the Riesling, huh? Oh man, I hope I didn't steer you guys wrong with the Riesling. I think it's actually quite enjoyable. It's just very unique, to use a word. But yeah, it looks like
No,
the sparkling.
Mark, I've said before to the group. Oh, sorry. Let me go, and then you can give the results. But I've said this before to the group. One of the things I really, really enjoy about what you do is I hadn't had any of these wines before, and I may never have gotten there if you didn't bring us there. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. That's what I try to do. So hopefully that's part of the reason why you come.
We did not dislike the Riesling, but the bubbly was lovely.
Yeah, that was a great way to start. Beautiful wine. And I think maybe, we go back after we all hang up here and we're done, go back and take a second look at the Riesling, and you may have a different feeling about it. But yeah, that's what I try to do, is to show you something different. I could have, we have 3 wines. It's a huge country. There's 2 or 3 or 4 wines that you have to pick. How do you take a slice out of a country as big as Australia and really show people what it's all about? It's kind of hard to do. So yeah, instead of just going for like a regular like Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon, or a Shiraz, I wanted to try something different. So the Grenache was, to me, a little bit more out there. Cool. So you can see the results there. Most of you really enjoyed the sparkling rosé.
Marc, we just wanted to say we really enjoy your focus on different regions, because it helps us to like absorb the different wines that are available in each region.
Yes, thank you. And I try to distill it down to a point where, and I apologize sometimes. I know I don't ever mean to sound condescending or like speaking down to anybody, because I don't know where you all are in your wine education or how much you know. So sometimes I'll kind of I'll make a disclaimer and say, I don't know if you know this already. I'm kind of always checking myself, so I hope that doesn't bother you too much. But yeah, I'm trying to make sure that I'm trying to make sure that I'm speaking to everybody in equitable terms. So I don't know how much you know or how much you don't know. So yeah, what would you say is your takeaway? I try to make it so that there's at least like one simple thing that you can walk away with when you do these tastings. So like, does anybody want to share like what their takeaway might be about Australia? It could be as simple as like, hey, I didn't know Tasmania made wine.
To visit.
That we should go there. Our takeaway is we should go there.
That's a good one.
All the wines were good, so thank you for that.
Cool.
And it was actually very educational and very delicious. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're
welcome.
I learned something with each variation. I mean, with the Grenache, like I said, comparing it to what I've had from Spain and Southern Rhone, the differences there. Even the Riesling, it was different than other Rieslings I've had from either Columbia Valley or Germany. This was a lot more balanced. Just to give you that comparison,
Hey, Tony, did she take you to the Tour d'Argent?
Yeah.
Or you want?
I know, I'm spoiled.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're spoiled.
Yeah.
So Tony is too, yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, was it?
That is Marc's fault.
Oh.
There's a very, very famous restaurant in Paris called La Tour d'Argent. The tower, basically the silver tower. And it's an old restaurant. I think it was established in the 1600s. It has one of the most extensive wine cellars in the world, and like there's like a 2-month waiting list to like get on in this place. And Karen contacted me. How long ago was it now? Probably about 6 months ago, maybe.
Yeah, early April.
Yeah, and you were like, "I'm going to Paris. Can you give me any recommendations?" I was like, "If you can get into Tour d'Argent, like that's a once in a lifetime experience."
Yeah, it was incredible.
I'm glad you got to enjoy it.
Thank you. Well, thanks for the recommendation. That was really, yeah, it's like a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah, cool. Yep. Anybody who is traveling, I love helping out. I love traveling, and I love giving my own experiences and sharing my own advice. And Glenn and Terry are well traveled as well too, so I know you guys have been around. I just love talking about exploring the world, and by way of wine as well, especially. Exploring the world through the wine glass, essentially. It's a good way to go. All right. So we have some comments over here. We have one. That's from Ben. Good choice on the wines. Thanks again for another interesting wine tasting. Missed the one last month due to vacation. That's okay, man. We all have a life. although we've been to Victoria, Australia, and attended the Toast to the Coast Wine Festival, it was good trying different wines from a different part of Australia. Awesome. I really appreciate the feedback, and I appreciate you guys joining me every month. Like I said, bring some friends along. You get a little bit of a discount. I want to try to grow this, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it too. So it's really does my heart good to see you guys hanging in here. And after all this time, I know many of you, most of you by first name now at this point, and I don't know, it feels like our own little friend circle. And Lynn, I'm glad you can get in the last minute there too. Cool. Any other questions or thoughts? Oh yeah, let's talk about where to go next. Any ideas?
Mark, I'm still interested in the volcanic wines. If we can do something on that. But do you think it would be possible to do something like Southwest US? Like I'm thinking Arizona, like maybe sparkling New Mexico and like Mexico. Well, which isn't US obviously, but I think there's interesting wines out of those regions.
Yeah, we'll have to. Yes. So we've been using wine.com for the past 4 months or 3 months now at this point. And there's a little bit of a matrix that I have to figure out, like where everybody in the group can get the wines, because as you already noticed, depending on what market you're in, you may not have the same vintage. Now, I spoke directly with the customer service at wine.com, and they were really thorough, and they really helped break down their shipment and fulfillment system to help me understand how I can make sure that everybody in the group at least gets the same wines or similar wines. But you'll notice variations from market to market. So some of you didn't have the 2022 Grenache, but there was a 2021 available. So I have to make sure that all of that is kind of accessible to everybody. So I'll have to take a look at places like Mexico. They have a great, especially the Baja Peninsula is a really strong wine economy and wine industry right now. And they make some amazing wines. It's just a question of whether we can get everybody in a group to get those wines based on their fulfillment system. But yeah, we could try the Southwest. I've had good wines from Texas. The Panhandle of Texas makes some really nice red wines. And because of the Spanish influence, it's a lot of Spanish reds. So you'll find Tempranillo in southern Texas, and also the Panhandle. Yeah, we can poke around. I would love to do something interesting like that, as long as everybody in the group can get those wines as well. Any other suggestions for regions you might want to try or check out? We haven't done Germany yet. Wine.com was a little lean on German wines last time I checked. I could look again, but any other suggestions?
Have we done Alsace, Mark? I don't remember.
No. We did with WTSO years ago, but that was probably 3 years ago at this point during the pandemic.
There's
because their
definitely
Crémants
great
are so
wines.
yummy.
Definitely great wines in Alsace.
Yes, I agree. I was just there last December, and we brought back a Gewürztraminer that I wish I bought. I wish I bought a whole case of that stuff. It was the most amazing. And I'm not even really a big Gewürztraminer drinker, but that was an amazing Gewürz that I wish I bought more of.
I love the Thanksgiving dinner.
Yes, and we brought back an orange wine from Hugel, and it was an amazing orange wine. And I'm not a big orange wine person, but that one in particular was amazing. Yeah, so we can consider Alsace too, as long as you guys are okay with lighter whites, because the only red you're going to find in Alsace is pretty much like Pinot Noir.
Yeah. But they do make good Pinot Noir too.
They do. Yes.
Hey, as long as you're in Australia, you could do New Zealand.
We could do New Zealand.
You could make New Zealand makes all kinds of great wines.
Somebody says
fortified wines, sure.
Yeah.
Fortified. Would you guys want to drink fortified wines?
Sounds like a section on the WSET exam.
It is. New Zealand Pinot Noir. Yeah, I love port personally. I have a really nice vintage port in my cabinet right behind me right now. But it's just one of those things, like I find it's very polarizing sometimes. People either want it or they don't. I feel like we could almost save that for for colder weather. Not a big fan of the port. Yeah, see, exactly. I like port, but Justin, just like you, I find that it has its place and it's not all the time.
Right.
South Africa. South Africa is a good suggestion.
How about Croatia or South Africa?
I looked at Croatia a couple of weeks ago, and the problem is that there's only like 3 wines on wine.com, and they were actually like kind of grayed out, so you couldn't even pick them. I'll look into it again. I'll see, because there may be a revolving inventory that makes it more available to us at certain times of the year. But yeah, I would love to do something like Croatia.
Or South Africa.
Oh, Zin. Yeah, we talked about doing Zin before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love
A
Zin.
lot of good Zins.
Yeah, and we can kind of work with that too, because there's Zin from Croatia, there's Zin from southern Italy, and then there's Zin from California too.
Yeah.
So we talk. As a matter of fact, I think that was the seed for this Aussie Grillers pack here. I was thinking about grilling wines, and Zin is a great grilling wine.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, well, I don't want to belabor this. I'll figure something out, but your suggestions are helpful. And
Zin is good.
Zin, yeah, we have another vote for Zin.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Love
Sure,
Zin.
sure, love
Love
Zin.
Zin.
And, you know, all kinds of different types of Zin, too.
Anybody not want Zin?
As long as it's red Zin.
As long as it's what?
Yeah, red.
Red Zin.
no pink Zin?
Yeah, but if they hadn't made pink Zin, all the vines would have been torn out.
Yeah.
No,
I
it's
like
true.
Ben's idea. Zins from different countries.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Zin from different countries. That sounds like we're kind of moving in a direction here. I'm also interested in Alsace too, because I love it so much personally. Yeah, so we can explore that as well. Let me take a look at a couple of the suggestions that you're making here and see, logistically, what is the most plausible for the group.
Yeah,
Great.
might want Zin when it gets a little more into fall.
Yes. Well, we're almost there. Couple months. Yeah. We're not there yet, though. It's still 95 degrees outside. So maybe we'll start when we go to Alsace next, and we'll look at Zin for like maybe October.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you always. Thank you. And I hope you had a good time. And if you have any feedback or anything, you can email me, you can text me, you can call me anytime you want. I'm always here for you.
Chin chin.
Chin chin.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
All right. Have a good night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.